Hello and welcome to Totem, Tales of the Motherland. Thank you for joining us. Today's folktale comes straight from Central Africa. We hope you enjoy it and that you have fun guessing which country it is. Please feel free to drop a comment below and remember to like, share and subscribe to help with the YouTube algorithm. Thank you again and let's begin. Far, far away, into the land named Shrimp by former colonizers, and where the highest peak in Central and Western Africa stands, lies a vast portion of land. On a clear day, one can easily spot the peak of Mount Fako, also known as the Chariot of the Gods, the Throne of Thunder. In that region, rains poured abundantly, providing plenty of moisture for okume, ebony, and sapele trees that often reach tens of feet in height. This abundance of rain gave way to an endless web of intertwined lakes and rivers, gorged with fish of all kinds, carp, catfish, tilapia, and more. This variety of seafood was a rich source of food and income for a number of settlements around those waterbeds. One of those settlements was a small village located about 20 miles east of Edea, and in which lived Kutongo and his young bride. Kutongo was a fisherman that had been married for less than a month. Both him and his wife were just adjusting to newlyweds life when they were forced by the other villagers to leave their community. It is not clear why they were shunned by their own people, but they left nevertheless. So Kutongo and his wife packed their belongings and made their way through the thick rainforest, through heavy vines and narrow paths, passing many reptiles and other critters that abounded in the region, including pangolins and black mambas. They were very brave though, knowing that together they could get through just about any obstacle. They were determined to find a place of their own and start a new life together. They finally reached a clearing that was suitable for building a decent house, and they decided that that's where they would settle down. They built a modest home, and it was not long before Kutongo's wife became pregnant. After a short while, Kutongo built himself a new canoe boat with which he would resume his fishing activities and provide for his family. Fishing was a very demanding activity, and Kutongo was gone for a few days sometimes to perform this grueling task. On the days he was gone, his wife kept busy with house chores and made sure to get Kutongo's meals ready for when he would come back. They had a good stock of dried fish and other fruits, vegetables and yam, enough to last them a few weeks at a time. She also enjoyed listening to the soothing melodies of Ndeke, the songbird she had befriended on those long, lonely days that her husband was gone. One evening, after Kutongo had just left for a week-long fishing trip, his wife was getting ready to go to bed when she heard a knock on the door. Who could that be? She wondered. The area they lived in was not a busy area, and their closest neighbor lived almost half a mile away. She cautiously asked, "Who is it?" "I'm sorry to bother you, ma'am. I am a distant relative of your husband's, and I've been traveling for days. I need a warm and safe place to spend the night. May I please come in?" She hesitated for a minute, but then she remembered how the custom requires one to take in travelers, because no one should be refused shelter, especially not a relative. She opened the door and she let him in. Her visitor was a weary-looking, tall and thin middle-aged man. It was clear that he had come a long way. He was exhausted and famished. She kindly offered him some water and some food, which was also very customary. But as soon as she served him the food and turned around to clean her pots, he was done eating already. He ate everything, including the plate his food came in. That was pretty scary. Wow, Kutongo's wife thought. He must have been starving. "I'm still hungry," he told her in a firm voice. It was getting late, Kutongo's wife said. She had to go to bed. But her guest would have none of it and asked for more food. Now keep in mind that it is very inconsiderate and rude in the culture of most places in the motherland to let guests go to bed hungry. Therefore, Kutongo's wife went ahead and cooked him more food, a double serving this time. She believed that this time he would be full and content. So she placed the food on the dining table and took the first step towards her bedroom when she heard a resounding burp, followed by the words, "Still hungry." Whoa! Once again, he ate everything, plate and all, including the cutlery. Unbelievable. She had just given the man an entire pot of fufu, 1 pot of ndole, 2 dried catfish, 10 safus, a plate of fried plantains, and a big jug of palm wine. How was it possible for one person alone to eat all of that? And so fast too, and with the utensils as well. But her guest had no time for all her internal questions. He was still hungry, and he was getting very irritated, borderline aggressive even. It looked as though the longer he had to wait, the angrier he got. So Kutongo's wife went back to the kitchen and started cooking again. Every time she served her visitor, he seemed to just vacuum all his food and asked for more right away. And with each dish, his body was visibly getting bigger and bigger. This went on for a long time, and as it turns out, he stayed for 4 days. She kept cooking and cooking while he ate, and got bigger and bigger. But she was too afraid to stop for fear that her visitor would eat her baby once this one would be born. He got very impatient every time she showed signs of stopping. He had become menacing, and with each day, he demanded to be fed more food. If only her husband was there, she began to cry. Maybe he would protect her from this strange man. She was very worried because her food supply was getting low, and this guest would eat it all. What would happen to her once she had nothing left to feed him? He would surely eat her. And her baby. She cried softly while stirring a huge pot of mbol, a common dish. She cried quietly, but Ndeke the bird heard her, and he came to the window to check on her. She explained what was going on, and in her sadness, she gave birth to the baby. Ndeke saw the man's mouth open very wide every time he poured food into it, as wide as a calabash. This was no ordinary man, Ndeke thought. Something did not add up. He had to get Kutongo, now. Ndeke flew as fast as his bright blue and yellow wings allowed him to notify Kutongo. He got to the river in record time, perched himself on the edge of Kutongo's boat, and immediately started singing. "Kutongo, Kutongo, hurry back home. Your wife is in great danger. Hurry back home, or she will perish in the hands of a stranger." At first, Kutongo did not pay much attention to the bird and simply dismissed it. He was having a great catch today and no time to listen to some bird. But the bird was persistent and he kept singing. Kutongo, Kutongo, hurry back home. Your wife is in great danger. Hurry back home or she will perish in the hands of a stranger. Ndeke was so persistent that after a while, Kutongo realized that the bird seemed to be talking to him precisely. So he listened. He listened carefully. He listened with not just his ears, but also with his heart. And then he got it. Something wasn't right. He had to go home right now. He quickly pulled his net, rowed back to the shore, docked his boat, and ran home as fast as he could. When he arrived in the evening, his poor wife was just about to collapse. She was thin and feeble from cooking all day and for having just delivered a baby. Kutongo was very wise not to tell the visitor to just leave. Instead, he had his wife cook the fish he just brought back, and he offers it to the visitor, who, of course, eats it all. And by all, that means the plate, fork, spoon, everything. Intrigued, Kutongo asked him, "Who are you?" And with an eerie look on his face, the visitor replies, "My name is Edimo." Kutongo and his wife almost fall backwards because that name means ghost. And the stranger continues, "I have been waiting for you, Kutongo, so I can take you back with me to my world." Kutongo and his wife stay silent, pretending to be okay with everything Edimo just said. Now that Kutongo was back, Edimo took a break from his intense eating, rolled his now round body, and eventually goes to sleep. While he was asleep, Kutongo took some basil and bay leaves, along with some garlic, and he burnt them next to Edimo's bed. The next morning, Edimo had vanished, gone, like he was never there. All that was left was the ashes from the burnt leaves and garlic, along with a pile of plates, some forks, spoons, glasses, and even the jug the palm wine had come into. All the utensils he had swallowed were back. Did Edimo just wake up early in the morning and left? Did he evaporate in his sleep? Or did he melt? Who knows? One thing is sure. Since that day, many men in that particular country burned some garlic, basil, and bay leaves whenever they leave home, or simply to cast away some unwanted and negative spirits. The end.